Hi everybody, my name is Parth Sakaria and I am a team lead here at DS Sales team at Odoo San Francisco. And today we'll be talking about how you can manage the cost aspect of any project that you are running within Odoo. And just to talk about a bit of an agenda, we will take care of a little bit of an overview with respect to how project application works, how it what capacity it has to keep track of any cost when it's connected to different applications in the system, as well as some of the improvements that we have done in new version 15 that is being launched as part of Odoo Experience. And then later on, we will go through a bit of a demo to kind of show you where this information that I'm talking about comes from, and we'll take care of some of the questions and answers later. So, cost tracking in project heavily depends on what kind of application that you have along with the project app into the system. And with Odoo, we really pride ourselves in having that integrated aspect within the system. So the more application that you have in the system, the better cost tracking you can do, and the more information you can capture about not only your projects, but your employees, your customers, as well as your internal effectiveness of the process itself. So project application, just to give you a brief overview, talks really well with our sales application on the customer side, as well as some of the internal applications such as planning, timesheet, employees up here, and accounting very well from internal. And typically how the way it works is that, let's say if you sell any services within the system, you will create a sales order for that, which can automatically trigger a project into project application. And internally, you can plan out your employee shifts, as well as who's going to do what kind of a situations in planning application. And timesheet usually takes care of that time tracking and cost tracking aspect as these processes are happening within the system. Now, based on the timesheet and time tracked in any system, you can set up your some of the features within your employee as well as accounting app, so that these two application actually feeds into the cost tracking mechanism of project and gives you a very good idea of what kind of budget you can set up for any projects, how much time you are spending or your employees are spending, how much cost is it incurring. And this cost can be done through material as well as time in that. And once you set up the budget, you can keep track of, well, how you are doing against that budget. Are you going over or under? Are you profitable or not? Very easily within the system. And to give you an overview of what a project app usually looks like, this is what, as soon as you jump into a project app within the system, this is the kind of dashboard that you can expect to see in the system, where there can be plenty of types of projects that are set up due to, let's say, a sales order that gets confirmed over here, some of the field service task that you either create through sales order or internally, and also any research and development or design projects that you create internally for your people as well. And typically, in order to set up all these settings and make sure that it's as robust as you want to click on that three dot button on the top right corner, and then click on edit. And that's where you would see majority of the settings you can enable within the project app. So once you click on that button, you would come to a screen like this, where there are plenty of options for you to choose in order to keep track of the cost. And these options are related to, let's say, invoicing any time and material to customers, whether you want to keep track of materials or time into the settings up here. And if you're planning to plan out those hours upfront, you can have those selections up here, and any worksheets and other stuff over here too, right? Now, if you're familiar with classes in QuickBooks or analytic account in Odoo, you can actually enable and assign different analytic accounts in the system for this specific project as well, and take care of any budgetary constraints that you want to set up in there. And we will see that in our next slide to see what that kind of looks like. But before we jump in, I want to quickly touch on the smart buttons that's available on the top. So this tab at the bottom usually defines what this project does, how you want it to behave, what are some of the features that you want to keep track of, right? And once you set this up, and as you go through the motion of working on this project, this smart button kind of gets updated in real time and gives you an idea of what's going on with this project with respect to different materials, different time, different employees, as well as any project billings towards the customer or not. So for this analytic account, if you click on that expansion button, you would typically see a screen like this, which directly talks to our accounting app and opens up an analytic account that you can assign to a specific project. Now, these analytic accounts are essentially just a placeholder or a tag where you can associate different items or different features, different actions, different activities that happens within your organization to one specific aspect, and then later on generate reports on how is money moving in your organization for that specific account. So let's say in our case, it's an office and design, and we may have some pessimistic or optimistic entries with respect to budget, and then later on we can generate some report on that, right? So once you set all these settings up and you know exactly what you want to keep track of, and as you start working on the project itself, you can, if you want to have a better idea of how you're doing with respect to cost tracking in a project, you can click on the project updates button here after clicking on that 3-dot button, and that takes you to a screen like this. Now this screen actually provides you a very broad stroke overview of your budget management, your cost management, as well as employee management for any project at hand. So you can have different tasks that's being done, any status report for that specific task, and also the smart buttons that we saw in previous slides are available for you to see up here too. And these are actually, this information usually comes from any constraints that you set up for, let's say, sold, right? Total sold, as well as profitability metrics that you set up, and also milestone metrics that you set up. So now that we have a decent idea of how a project gets managed in project app itself, let's jump into a demo environment, and we can see how all that stuff plays out. So this is a typical Odoo environment that you can hope to find when you sign up in Odoo. Now, I am an administrator of this database, so I can see all the applications that I have purchased in this subscription, but you can easily manage user access rights as well as action management or permissions management by going into settings menu and then determining that on user level. Now, this dummy database has pretty much all the apps that we usually offer, so that you can see a lot of them up here. And primary apps that I want to focus on in this demo is the employee apps that we have, and projects apps that we have, a timesheet that we have, and then planning apps that we have, along with any accounting feature that we talk about. So let's me go to my employee app up here and then talk about why that's important. So employee is a free app that you can just install if it's not available already when you create the database, and you can have as many records of employee that you want. There is no limit to how many records that you can have within Odoo. And if I go into one of these employees, under HR settings tab, here I can specify what kind of pay I want this Abigail person to pay. Now, once I set up this monetary value as part of the hourly rate, this information directly feeds into my budget management when it comes to keeping track of the cost of how much time this Abigail person spends on a specific project, right? From there, I can go to my planning application, and I can plan out my shifts if I want to with respect to these options. So I can see that, okay, all of these employee profiles that I have in the system are working on a specific project, specific task, specific shifts in a designated manner, and I can determine all that stuff up here, and this directly feeds into project and planning as well. Now, this is more towards the employee side, right, human side, but when it comes to project and what needs to be done, how we need to do anything, you can enable this timesheet feature, and this timesheet feature actually gives you an idea that, okay, what kind of projects are you dealing with? What kind of work that needs to be done? How many hours do you want to allocate to that? And then keep track of these these effective worked hours against any planned hours that you have in the system. And with anything in Odoo, I can always group them by, I can, filter through a specific information whenever I want to. It doesn't matter. And last but not the least, I want to quickly touch through accounting a little bit, and also just wanted to show you where you can go to enable that analytic account feature that I was mentioning. So you can go to accounting, configuration, and settings. And under that settings menu, all the way at the bottom, you will see some options for analytic accounting, budget management, tax, as well as margin analysis. And the more you turn on, the more robust the system gets, right? So depending on your preference and what you want to do, you might want to make sure that these features are turned on so that later on you can see that in Project tab. So now that we have talked about all the basic infrastructure that you need to set up, let's go to project application itself and see how that those settings take effect into a specific project. So if I go to Project tab up here, I can see there are different types of project, as I mentioned earlier. Some created by sales orders, some related to my field service work that I can have my employees do, or any internal projects with respect to research and development, marketing, design, future planning, company management, etc. Now, for purpose of this demo, we'll take office design as an example. So I can go to that three-dotted button up here within, and I can see all the different options that I have with respect to this settings. Now, we will talk about this edit option first, because that's where we need to set up the most basic infrastructure about this system, right? So I can click on that edit button, and here I can see that this is what all the options that are available for me with respect to managing this project. And at the bottom tabs, I have my settings tab, and that settings tab will include all the information I need to enable or disable to make sure that I see and keep track of the information that I need to, but I don't have to worry about some other stuff that doesn't necessarily apply in my case. So here I can see options for timesheets. I can see options for cost management with respect to material, as well as time the time a particular employee spends in the system. And I can see options for planning, as well as any worksheets that I have. Now, once I set all this stuff up and I start, or my employees start working on this specific project, these smart buttons will get updated in real time to show me exactly what's going on with respect to my project, including the cost that I'm incurring against a specific budget that I set up, right? Now, once this is done, I have quite a few options for you to check it out with respect to cost management. So since we have turned on all those features in the back end, I can see that there are options for me to see my timesheet and planning analysis, my burn down chart, my planning itself, as well as any task analysis that goes on. So I can go to this individual options and then take a look at what's going on with them on individual basis. Or there is actually a very nice dashboard button that's available that gives me all this information on one place, from which I can dig a little bit deeper down if I want to about a specific thing. So let's go back to projects and see where that located. So that button is called Project Updates. Once we go to Project Updates on any project, I can have all of these options that we saw, all of these features that we enabled in one nice little place where it tells me that, okay, these are all the tabs that I have. This is where the progress is going on, whether something at risk, hold, or on track, as well as all those smart buttons that we saw at settings level. I have those available in here too. And my profitability options are also available. Now, if you tend to manage your projects with a specific milestones, you can set up those milestones up here too with respect to different due dates, and keep track of this project and cost for each individual milestones as well. And then later on, these milestones can also help you build a customer based on specific work done at different phases that you want as well. Now, if I click on one of these features, now these smart button are living, breathing thing, as I said, right? So I can go into what if it says that I have 321 hours recorded. Well, where does this come from? So I can click on that and see that these are all the employees that have spent this much amount of hours. And I can see that in different manners as well. So this is more of a visual representation, but I can always go into list view and see that this is where it belongs for this specific project. And I can also dig down into pivot view and then go a little bit deeper on where it got spent, how it got spent with respect to different measure. And this includes my timesheet cost, right? So this timesheet cost, if I enable, I can see that these are all the hours that got spent with respect to this much cost and hours that got spent as well. And if I go back into projects, there is another key things that I want to verify is, oh, excuse me, I went all the way out. If I go back to project updates, these budget and revenue costs that I'm setting it up, right? This comes directly from the optimistic or pessimistic budget that I set in the system. And I can click on that smart button, which will take me to this analytic account that we talked about, and any specific budgetary positions that I set up for my pessimistic or optimistic budget itself. And this basically concludes how the cost management usually gets taken care in any specific project. There is plenty of other stuff that we can talk about, and there are quite a bit of information that we can go a little bit deeper on in here as well. And if you want to explore this a little bit more, I would highly encourage you to reach out to any Odoo employees on the sales side, and they'll be more than happy to set up a demo for you, get the necessary requirements from you, and then set up a customized demo that speaks directly to the application that you have. We also offer free demos as well for 2 weeks time period. So you can always create a new demo or a new trial and test out the system. Reach out to us if you have any questions about those testing environment, and we can certainly take care of any next steps from there as well. So with that, let's move to questions and answers. Okay.
Few questions that I'd like to discuss with you. I think it's very important. First of all, I was thinking about the project costs, and if you can actually connect them with the manufacturing costs, for example, in terms of R&D or things like that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's actually a very good question. So the project cost and the capturing that you do with respect to billing, it's a bill of material consumption for, let's say, prototyping or etc., right? Or any labor-intensive cost consumption are natively tied to an analytic account in the backend. And you can also connect that analytic account to, let's say, a manufacturing order. So all of the work that has been done, let's say, with R&D or any other pre-production project task, as well as production task, can be combined together using analytic account in a very cohesive manner. And after you are done making the products, it gives you a very good overall picture of how what the actual cost is for you.
Great. Second of all, can you log the activities or the work hours, for example, from any kind of mobile device,
Oh, yeah. Odoo project, including the timesheet that you log, billing consumption you do, sales order that you can create from project. All of them are completely natively available on mobile devices for iOS as well as Android. And the best part about Odoo mobile device is that it actually is the same product as you get on desktop. So there is no compromised features in there. It actually enhances the features because you can use the camera of mobile device to scan, let's say, barcode of the bill of material that you consume. So yeah, it's completely mobile friendly.
Great. I'm thinking about the contractors, can you actually log the activity from external contractors or third party? How do you manage that?
That's a good question. So now with version 15, outside contractors or any other people outside your organization can actually influence the project task and the moves that happen within using our vendor portal or customer portal. And at the same time, within Odoo, you can actually create employee profiles for all these contractors that might be outside of your organization, and then log hours under that employee profiles. And you don't need any user license for that, and you can have as many employee profiles as you want. So timesheets are based on employee profile time logs rather than user time logs. So yeah, if you have any contractors or any outside workers that doesn't necessarily have a user profile, you can still log time consumed by them in project task.
That's awesome. One more question about the accounting. How does the project budgeting works with this? How does the accounting department works with this information?
It's a great question. So yeah, budget and analytic accounts and everything within project that you do is completely integrated with accounting is in general, so that whatever you do in project with respect to cost management will be transferred automatically to accounting as well. And you can see that in accounting reportings as well as any exports and other stuff that you do for that particular project.
So you basically have all the information in one place, in real time, so there's no place for mistakes.
Yeah,
right?
real time is the keyword. It is. And then you can, all the reporting that you generate in accounting will be updated in real time with respect to project and accounting too.
Amazing, amazing. One last question, as a wrap up, what do you think is the general added value of this proposition that we are putting in the table, for the client?
I would say that overall understanding of what's going on in your organization with respect to project, as well as any accounting, any inventory, any sales, any invoicing that you do, all of them are working in a cohesive manner from the get-go. So we don't need to, or as you as a client, don't need to build this out from scratch and then maintain it over a long period of time. It's already made by Odoo, so you can just use it as more of like a plug-and-play solution.
Nice, nice. In the same line, how would you recommend to the clients to deploy or to start analyzing this process? We are telling them, what? You can manage your budget, your project costs. How do you think clients should start this process?
That's a good question. Watching this video is the first good step because it gives you an idea of what's possible. But then in this 25-minute video, we can't really encompass everything that's possible with the product, and especially when it comes to your customized workflow. So the best thing you can do is just go to odoo.com, start a trial, and try to play around with the system as much as you can. You can make sure that you go to the configuration and settings of any menu to make sure that the features are enabled that you want to. And then reach out to us. We are more than happy to help you analyze any specific workflow that you're trying to achieve, answer any questions about the features, especially the new features that are available in version 15. And we can also set up demonstrations, like software demonstrations for you once you give us, let's say, this is the workflow I'm trying to achieve. And we will build a test process out for you and then answer any specific questions that way too. So yeah, please go to odoo.com and check out all the resources that's available over there too.
Fast and easy. What do you think about the clients that are actually working with other kind of systems, and wants to pull the information from their costs, related to, it's very common for that to happen,
definitely.
How do you think they should approach? Is it possible? How do you advise them to manage that? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you already have a project management tool that's doing a good job, but you want it to connect to, let's say, your other business process, ideally, I would encourage you to try our project module as well and see if you like it. I'm sure you'll be happy. But in case you can't really get out of it, there are multiple ways you can transfer information. The most basic way to do is through import-export using Excel or CSV files. It's very easy to create template within Odoo for any any exporters, any exporter, import, or mass update. You can also connect your existing software with Odoo using API connection. If you are hosted on our SH platform, you have unlimited access to as many API calls that you made. And that's the best way to do in order to create a bi-directional information flow with particular field mapping. And if you don't want to build it out, you can always visit our app store, where we have quite a few third-party developers who all they do is they build out these connectors that can help you connect with a third-party software to Odoo. And you can just buy that connector and then use it as a bridge to information flow.
Great. Well, thanks again, Parth. It's been amazing to have you here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
Thanks
you.
for the audience. I invite you to connect with us. Whatever you want. We're on the website. We will reach out as soon as possible. So thank you again,
Thanks,
and
Emil.
hope to see